Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing Greenland. Just finished watching it. It is on Max right now if you have a subscription. Got a couple more days on that, so that's why I'm busting out I'm just busting out as much content as I can, but the movies are easy. I watch them in the morning, so then I do a review and then do some reading or do whatever else I'm going to do for the day. But you know how we do it. I will give you my overall impressions and grade after reading some logistics and overviews of the movie, as provided by Google. Then if you have not seen the movie but would like to, based on my recommendation or not recommendation, you're going to shut off the video. There will be spoiler alerts. We'll be discussing the plot synopsis and character development, and any similar movies or major themes. So Greenland, rated PG-13. It's an action disaster movie. It's 2 hours runtime. It says, John Garrity, his estranged wife, and their young son embark on a perilous journey to find sanctuary as a planet-killing comet hurtles toward Earth. Amid terrifying accounts of cities getting leveled, the Garritys experience the best and worst in humanity. As the countdown to the global apocalypse approaches zero, their incredible trek culminates in a desperate last-minute flight to a possible safe haven. Initially released July 29th in 2020, directed by Rick Roman Woe. Box office did $52.3 million, had a budget of $35 million. Said 72% liked it on Google, 7 out of 10 on Blu-ray.com, 78% liked it on Rotten Tomatoes, and 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Google says, why to watch? It's ominous, volatile, and thrilling. So overall, what did I think? Again, I like the apocalypse genre. I like watching just writing scripts of society breaking down. Always is just intriguing to me. Really a big fan of, what's this guy's name? Gerard Butler, was his name? I always forget, the Scottish dude. Yeah, Gerard Butler. I always enjoy him as an actor. I thought the Marina Baccarin was pretty cute. But overall, again, a survival adventure movie, not too gory, and rated PG-13. Thought it had a good tone to it, very similar in feeling to The Day After Tomorrow and 2012. Certainly really enjoyed this one. B plus, A minus, B plus, A minus. I'm gonna give it an A minus. The only reason, if I hadn't seen all of the other survival ones, it's very similar to The Day After Tomorrow, but just the writing script of survival that I enjoy. So overall, I'll give this the lower end of well done. I really enjoy Gerard Butler, and I enjoy survival apocalypse type of writing scripts. So overall, again, I thought the plot moved along well. 2 hours runtime, wasn't too long, wasn't too short. So overall, A minus. If you have not watched it, I recommend this one if you like, I don't say sci-fi, but just disaster movies. So if you have not watched it and would like to, we're going to be discussing the plot synopsis and character development. So the movie that opens up, you see John Garrity. He is working as a civil engineer. He's building buildings, overseeing a job site. And one of his workers wants them, he's like, boss, you can leave now, we got it from here, and he has to sign off on some invoice, blah, blah, blah. So he goes home. Again, he's estranged from his wife. You don't really learn what happened until a little bit later. But he gets there, he goes back. She's running on the treadmill, kind of debates, do I ring the doorbell or do I just go into my own house type of deal. But goes in there, and they're kind of on rocky grounds, but they're having a party for their son Nathan, and they're going to invite the neighbors over. They live in an upper class neighborhood, and then the next day before the party, John has to go to Allison asked John to go to the store to get some more beer, hot dog buns, hot dogs for their cookout, their party, their whatever. And so already at this point in the movie, this is right at the beginning, they're already talking, when they're driving the car to go to the grocery store, he takes Nathan with them, they're already here talking about this comet that's going to come and hit the Earth, and, at first, they say, it's just going to burn up, or it's going to be it's going to come by close, and then they say it's going to hit, or not hit, but enter the atmosphere and then burn up, and so they're all kind of excited. And so, again, just for something interesting happening in the news. So they go into, and the comet is called Clark. And so they go to the grocery store, and when they're at the grocery store, John gets this, a presidential personal message to his phone where it's you've been selected, meet at this Air Force base by 1 p.m. or this time the next day, so you can have evacuation. And so he's not really sure what to make of it. Allison gets the same thing at their house, but she's like running or doing her hair or something where there's some loud noises, so she doesn't hear the thing. And so John rushes back to the house. The party's going, and he asks Allison if she got the message, and she's like, no, I didn't, but she realized she just didn't hear it. And then on the news, they're all, they have, I don't know, four or five neighborhood families over, and they're watching the news, and they're all kind of like excited to watch because now there's a piece of comet's going to land in the ocean. They want to see a big splash. And so they're all watching it on the news. The big, it says the impact's about to happen, and then they're just kind of waiting there like, what's going on? And then the whole house kind of shakes. And it's like, whoa, like what happened? Why did it shake our house? So at which point the message starts flashing in front of the neighbors, like, John Garrity, Allison Garrity, Nathan Garrity, you've been cleared and approved for this evacuation rescue mission. And so the neighbors are like, why did we get that one? And so, at this point, they're all going from, normal society to starting to break down. It's like, is this really happening? And so John and Allison and Nathan pack up, and they get ready to start going. A couple of the neighbors jump in front of their cars, like, help us, take my kid. And so nothing too bad happens there, but they get around, and they start heading to this Air Force base. As they get closer, and Nathan has diabetes, so they have to have insulin, and they pack it in there. And as they're driving to this Air Force base, Nathan takes out his blanket, and you can see the insulin falls out. Obviously, premonition for future plot. So they get there, they go into this checkpoint. Basically, they get a QR code and that they can scan or something, the personal identification number or whatever. So they go up to the front gate, they get their stuff, they get scanned in, they get the wristbands, and that's when they realize that Nathan's insulin had fallen out. And so John's like, I'll just run back and go get it. So he's got his wristband now, so he can get back in. He's all good, starts running back there to go get the insulin. And so at which point, Allison, they're just like waiting for John. The plane's about to take off, and she's asking like a soldier, like, have you seen my husband? He just went to get my kid's medicine. At which point the soldiers are like, go on alert, and they're like, well, you have to come with us now, ma'am. And so nobody that had any long-term illnesses were allowed to be cleared for survival or whatever. And so Nathan they said he just got passed on, they just misscreened. And so now Allison and Nathan know they can't get on the plane. John's trying to hurry back to get on the plane with the insulin. And so Allison and Nathan get turned down, they get rejected, and so they have to leave. John comes back, and there's a bunch of planes, big hectic scene, like a lot of people moving around. And so he gets back through, he gets on a plane, and one of the other passengers is like, they have no cell service, so he's trying to ask Allison if they're on a plane, and one of the passengers sees the insulin, and he's like, hey, how'd you get on here with diabetes? And he's like, oh no, it's my kid. And he's like, well, my sister's kid had diabetes, and they denied him at the door. So at which point, John's thinking like, did they just get turned away? They're probably not on a plane. Regardless, one of the perimeters gets breached. Again, people just trying to rush in. And so they open fire. The dude that's fueling up the jet gets killed, and the fuel is leaking everywhere. So John's like, everyone get off the plane. They all run off the plane, and then the thing explodes. And at which point, Allison or Nathan are back at the car. The car is 300 yards away from this base entrance. And they see the insulin gone, so they now know that John has it. But they're like, Allison leaves a note for John saying, hey, we're going to go to my father's, meet us there. And so they just start walking. And so the big plane explodes. John runs back, gets back to the car and sees the note. And it's now, they're just, barely missing each other. But he sees the note, and now that he's going to try to go to like New Lexington, I'm not exactly sure where the setting is in this movie. Somewhere in the eastern United States, northeastern United States-ish. Maybe like Tennessee or Kentucky, I don't really know, it doesn't matter. But regardless, he gets that, sees the note, and so now the first thing Allison and Nathan have to do is they have to go to a pharmacy to try to get insulin. They go into a pharmacy, they find some insulin, I believe, and people come in and start opening fire, like shooting guns in the air, like looters and robbers and bandits. A very similar scene to like World War Z when they go into a pharmacy. But they go in there, an old lady gets killed. One of the robbers or looters lets them go, So they run back outside, and they get picked up, and they get basically a hitchhike with a man and a woman, Ralph Vento and Judy Vento. And so they go and they're Ralph has a line where it's like, well, those lucky people who got to get on the planes, and they have the wristbands. So he notices they have the wristbands. They drive down the road a little bit, and then he basically pushes Allison out of the car, rips off her wristband, and he's going to go and act like now, because Nate has a wristband, acting that's this kid, give his wife, Judy, Allison's wristband, and go try to get on one of the planes themselves. Which that didn't really make much sense to me in that scene. It's like, you either take both of their wristbands, because it's not going to work, you just take one, and it has their names on them, so it's like, that could be a little tighter there in terms of plot development. But regardless, that's what happens, and now Nathan is being abducted, and Allison is, fraught because she just lost her kid. At the same time, John gets picked up by some people in he gets picked up by, he gets picked up by this transport van where it's starting to look like just big box truck that's open-ended, and they just have like a tarp over it and a bunch of people in it, and they're going up to Canada, and some civilians are going to fly to Greenland and try to get into the bunkers themselves. And so he's in there with a bunch of 10 other people. He meets there's a Colin, who's this guy. He tells him about, we're going to Canada, we're trying to meet up and get to these civilian flights. And so Colin's a good person. There's a couple other minor characters that basically just want to rob. They want John's wristband, and they're like, no, we're not going to do that. So then they start fighting. The truck capsizes or falls over, tips over, and John's fighting him off with a hammer, swinging back and forth, and ends up hitting the dude in the back of the head and killing him. So kills one guy, the other dude runs away, and John then makes it to Allison's father's house, and Allison is not there. And so, two timelines going on at the same time. And then you have Allison, and she gets picked up by some Latinos, and then they drive up close to the Air Force Base, where she's thinking that these people are going to try to get in, the Ventos with their kid. And so the Ventos, they get caught with Nathan. Nathan tells the army that what they're doing, and so he gets put into a children's tent, and Allison arrives and is able to find her child. And so one of the nurses gives her some insulin, gives her some testing strips for more diabetes products, and then she gets a ride somehow, or rides a military bus, or gets dropped off close to her father's house. And so John and Dale is the father. John and Dale go pick them up. They're all very excited to see each other once again, be back together. And now John is trying to convince them to go, we still have time to try to make it to Canada and be rescued. This is when you learn that John had stepped out and cheated on Allison. They were going through a rough patch in their marriage, and John cheated, and him and Dale had a little conversation about it. Allison overhears, and John's trying to convince Dale, the father-in-law, the stubborn father-in-law, to go with them and try to be saved. He decides he's going to stay back and just live out his days as he has them. And they take his truck and a gun, and then they start driving towards Canada as well. And so while they're driving to Canada, they hear on the news that there's going to be some falling debris and embers. There's big comet pieces falling different places at different times, always going on in the background. But they're like upstate New York somewhere, and it's like, they're going to have falling debris and stuff, and they're like, isn't that where we are? And so they're all outside of the car, and then a bunch of things starts falling down on them, big frantic scene to get back in the car. And they drive their car into the woods a little bit, and then find a bridge. And so they go stay under the bridge for a little bit, and then X amount of time passes, and it's now the nighttime, and they still have to try to make it to Canada. So they drive their car up, they make it to the airstrip, the planes are just taking off. John drives in front of one of the planes, and it's like, let me on, let me on. And so the guy, is at full capacity, but decides to let them on. So they get on the plane, and they start flying to Greenland, hence the title of the movie. Which, for whatever reason, didn't even click to me until the middle of the movie. The title was like, Greenland was like the continent or the country, as opposed to just like just a random movie title. And so they fly, they get to Greenland, The engines start to fail. Another big thing hits. A piece of comet hits, and it kind of like knocks the plane's engine off. And so they kind of go down. They land on this like gravel, just not even a road, which I don't know planes, but I don't think that's really possible. But don't know planes. But and just as a simple viewer, it was just like, that doesn't really seem like that would go like that. Both the pilots die in the crash. They kind of smush into a mountain a little bit. The rest of the passengers are fine. They're really close to the military installment, this bunker. And so the military comes over and actually helps them. Doesn't give them any stripe or any flack for being, not having wristbands, not being chosen. And the people chosen were just chosen based on their occupation. And so they get on there. They get into the bunker. They're all, an emotional scene. The family. It's like, there's a bunch of little pieces of comets coming through and destroying a lot of things. But there's this one big that's supposed to be like, 3 times the size of the one that wiped out the dinosaurs. So it's going to destroy 75% of all life on the planet. Blah blah blah. And so the big one's about to hit. They're like braced for impact, and they have kind of like some flashback scenes of when Nathan was younger and everything was happy. And then this big impact. And the kind of the flashback scenes, and then the resolution to the movie is once again similar to 2012, when it's like they're on the ship for 9 months. This one is they're underground for like 9 months, and so they open up the doors and they get the all clear, and then they start exploring this new desolate world where they see a bird and they're excited. And so you see some destruction scenes of just the broken cities and devastation throughout the world, and then again people going back into the world after surviving a disaster. So that's the resolution of the movie. Overall, again, nothing super unique on the script, but it's a genre and a type of movie that I thoroughly enjoy, so that's why it's in the well done range. Like Gerard Butler, overall I thought it was a good survival story, and it was entertaining for a 2-hour thing to make some content. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.